Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Black Ops 3 In Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be reviewing Nomad, the specialist that we all love to hate because he's got his Rejack ability and his Hives. The gameplay that you're going to see is mostly me playing TDM, almost exclusively with light machine guns, and it's going to be considerably less aggressive than what you're seeing right here. This is just a good lead into the episode, but Nomad is basically a camper's best specialist, so I try to play conservative gameplay, which is basically me camping or doing slow patrolling around an area, and I'm trying to adjust my playstyle, though I do get aggressive and go in sometimes. Let's talk about his story, then we're going to be talking about Hives, then we will be talking about the Rejack ability. Nomad's story is somewhat more straightforward than the other specialists. Nomad is a former member of an elite Colombian search and destroy team, and he specializes in jungle warfare. You can even see from his player card that when they render him in the Redwood Forest map in Black Ops 3. He likes to be stealthy, he likes to blend in, he likes to use the environment against his enemies, hence using the Hive, and the Rejack is his own special brew of sauces that brings him back to life. His story is that him and his unit were targets of a search and destroy mission when they thought they were doing the searching and destroying. Turns out the hunters were the hunted. The enemies turned on them, almost killed them all, and after the mission was over, his unit was disbanded, they were reassigned to other areas, and slowly but surely all of his former teammates or squad mates started dying, and dying under suspicious circumstances for that matter. He is currently the last one alive of his original squad, and he's trying to find out who is killing them, why they're killing them, and of course enact his own personal revenge. As far as I'm aware, Nomad has no idea that he is inside of a simulation. He thinks that he's really playing all the time, and he's just kind of a DNI like most of the other characters. He is very unlikely to be the other spy. All that being said, let's talk about the Hives, because the Hives are really what makes Nomad Nomad, and they have more myths and more rumors and more questions about them than just about any other special ability in this entire game. I did a lot of testing, and I found some things that won't surprise you and some things that very much so will. If you have the Hive launcher charged up, one of the less creative ways that you can kill your enemies is just by dinking them with the little Hives. They'll pop in a few seconds and kill them. What did surprise me, though, is that if you walk very slowly towards the Hive, it won't trigger until you've actually walked over it. And I'm not making this up, you'll see it triggers at different distances later on, but if you approach the Hives very, very slowly, it seems to decrease their bursting radius or lethal radius. So if you ever want to sneak around one, just crouch walk and move around it, and it should save you. That being said, sliding over them absolutely does not work. You can, however, jump over a Hive that is on flat ground. This is H.I.V.E. doing it. You have to use your whole boost and go up rather high. If you kind of half-arse it or use a half boost or try and kind of squeak by, it will blow up and kill you at a much larger radius. And again, the faster you're moving, the bigger that radius is going to be. As you can see, when he sprints past the wall, it detonates and kills him very, very quickly. Or when wall running, it's pretty much the same thing. Now, we did do some tests indoors, and what I find is that most of the buildings, the ceilings are too high, especially at the rate that people move through. People have a tendency to walk through buildings and kind of camp through them, and they don't really blow through at the same pace. And not only just in this testing, but I've generally had bad luck putting the Hives on the ceiling. You would think that would be a brilliant idea because nobody looks up there for them, kind of like IEDs and Ghost, but it just doesn't seem to quite do it, especially if people are going to be slow. Now, if they're sprinting through, they might activate them, but if they're just walking through kind of normally to set up like for a sniper location, they're never ever going to pop. There are a couple of interesting ways to kill the Hives. We're going to do that after I test the glitch myth, which is if you run over a Hive and activate glitch immediately, that you don't die. And that's absolutely true. As soon as the Hive pops, you can activate glitch and you will survive. That's, as far as I'm aware, the only way the known way to survive the Hive. You can destroy them by shooting them. Pretty straightforward in that regard. I think everybody has done this. I tested flash and stun grenades. They didn't do anything whatsoever to the Hives. Thermites work well. Of course, regular grenades will work well. If there's a bunch of them, I'm going to say a thermite is great because it'll kind of burn them all out. After that, you can use EMP grenades to destroy the Hives. EMPs will do it very, very well. Don't forget from the Fire Break episode that your Heat Wave ability will destroy the Hives if you're close enough, but it won't save you. And a lot of rumors about how they work underwater. You move slower, so they don't detonate as easily, but they do definitely detonate and kill you underwater. The gameplay that I'm going to show you for the Hives is mostly from one gameplay in particular. I'm playing Team Deathmatch because I feel that Team Deathmatch is one of the areas where the Hive and, Nomad in general performs very, very strongly, and it's just a very, very good example of how the hives work. Normally I would have a whole bunch of gameplays, but this one pretty much just sums it up. The hives are kind of a camper's best friend. They're very, very annoying, and I liken them to being almost identical to the IEDs from Ghost, with the exception of the fact that you could actually dodge the IEDs. You could jump over them, under them, you could run flak jacket, or you could just have more health if you were playing, what was that, heavy duty, the high health game mode, and you could kind of scoot out of the blast radius and do a lot of different things. However, the hives, generally speaking, are much harder to avoid, and once they detonate, you're just a goner. That being said, they're much brighter than the IEDs in Ghost. They're way easier to see because they're bright red if you're on the enemy team, and they have the little fireflies kind of all around them. So I just find them annoying, to be honest with you. I don't even find them to be that tactical or that good. However, they are good in a couple of the modes that I don't play very much, so I have a big bias against that. The hives are very good for team deathmatch. If you're patient, you can just activate the hive gun. You can kind of surround all the exits and common points or on the enemy spawn with hives. You can just put them almost anywhere that you think somebody is going to be walking or running. Then you can back up and go to the other side of the map, or maybe shoot your gun and irritate them a little bit, and just wait for people to run over them. There is definitely a weakness of the hives, and that's that when you die, they go away. So you have to survive for them to work, which I actually think makes them kind of a bad specialist weapon. The other ones you can just call in and hose people or insta-kill them, but the hives you need to play like a survivalist and run to the back of the map and camp, or kind of shoot your gun and try and troll, or just wait for them to be popped or detonated, and you can maybe close off some choke points. Not too many players actually detonate them. I thought, I shoot a lot of hives when I play online, but when I use the hives, I don't find many people actually shooting them. They tend to just sit there until somebody pops them. So yeah, it's very good in Team Deathmatch because Team Deathmatch at its core is a very conservative game mode where you tend to perform better when you play more campy or something like that. The hives are pretty god tier when it comes to something like Search and Destroy because they're like free IEDs. It's like free trip mines that you can sling all over the map. It's super easy. You can choke down one entire round of Search and Destroy and make it very easy to play, with the exception of the fact that Search and Destroy has the slowest charging specialist timers in the game, so you're probably only going to be able to do that one round. You won't be able to do it very many times over. They work very well in hardcore because people play, more conservatively. It's a more campy game mode, and you do catch people. I found that in hardcore, people have a tendency to see them and shoot them more often because they move slower, but it does work there as well. Any game mode where you really want to camp or play conservative or anything like that, that's where the hives are going to be good, but they're kind of terrible at anything else because they depend on enemies getting fairly close to them. They go away when you die. The timer on the hive machine isn't very good, and the range isn't very good. Sometimes it's hard to stick them where I want them, especially at long ranges, so I just don't think that it's a very good specialist weapon in general. Yeah, it's very annoying, or kind of at a person and the hives land right at their feet, but they don't blow up and kill them because it takes a second or two for them to activate. There's so many other better specialist weapons that you could run in most game modes. Search and Destroy, this was pretty awesome though. Pretty awesome in Search and Destroy. I think it's more of just a troll thing. Like if you like being a troll, if you like being a camper, use this. I've probably complained enough about the hives. Let's move on to the Rejack ability, which is one that everybody complains about. And we complain about it because like the hives, it's just kind of an annoying ability. It's usually annoying when you're on the receiving end. It's kind of difficult to use when I actually want to use Rejack and kill people with it. I find it more difficult than I thought it would be. I mostly just remember getting killed by the Rejack users and just personal bias. I forget all the times I kill them. Most of the time when you rejack into the game, you're not going to be able to get a lot of kills with it. So just like the hives, it's kind of only a troll move. I don't know, it just kind of serves the ability to irritate me. It kind of reminds me of an over-glorified tactical insertion. It's pretty much a tactical insertion that you don't get to choose where it plants. It just plants right where you die. And the smoke, there are many, many ways to counter that, which I will be showing you with testing right meow. One rumor is that you will not go into Rejack if you die from headshots, and as this test indicates, that is not true at all. Headshots will. The easiest way to see a hive person is just to run, not a hive, a Rejack person is just to run into the smoke, and once you get near the middle, they're very, very visible. Another good way to do it is to activate Vision Pulse if you have it. They glow bright red right through the smoke, no problems whatsoever, very, very easy to kill them. There are some fun ways to counter Rejacking. You can throw thermite grenades on the ground, but do keep in mind that thermite grenades will bounce off the body because they're not active until they come up. You want to try and hit the ground around them. The Rejack ability is not immune whatsoever to the thermal sight, so you can see them in the smoke very, very, very easily. That's probably my favorite way to do it, is just use thermal. Actually, this is my favorite. The C4 sandwich, you just wait for the C4 alarm to go off, and boom, no more rejacking in your face. That sounded dirty, I shouldn't say that. The Rejack ability, again, is not very good. I find that more often than not, people don't fall for this trick. They fell for this trick a lot in the beta, because in the beta nobody knew what they were doing. They fell for it a lot when the game first came out, but now people kill Rejack users very easily. As soon as you go into Rejack, they have a tendency to try and creep up behind you. They throw thermite grenades on you, they throw frags, simtacs, stun grenades. A lot of people just hose the smoke until you hop back up, which makes it very difficult to do anything safe. And what I found to be by far the most effective is to just boost straight up out of the smoke to get as much distance between your spawn point and what they're going to be looking at as possible. And again, not super useful. It is super useful in Search and Destroy. It charges really slowly, like the Hives and most everything else in Search and Destroy, and it kind of gives you an extra life for one round. If you're playing Search and Destroy, about once per game, maybe twice if you're very busy, you can get an extra life. That's very cool. I know why a lot of people use it in competitive, because when it comes to Search and Destroy, there's almost nothing, even weapons or glitching or whatever, there's nothing better that you can do than getting an extra life, which is awesome. It's kind of okay for Team Deathmatch, because you can respawn back in the action or reposition very quickly. For Kill Confirmed, it probably works a little better because it's a little crazier. People are paying attention. They'll come at you and try and get the tags, and you can pop back up and knife them or something. For a hardcore Team Deathmatch, I find that people just spray into the smoke too much, and it just does not work at all. And I'm going to move into some general opinions on Nomad if you haven't already sensed them from the rest of this episode. They're mostly negative. Almost all of the specialists in the game are fun to play, and they have good counterplay to play against. Nomad is really neither of those things. If you were thinking League of Legends, he was kind of like the old Poppy, or maybe the current Yorick. Under no circumstances is Nomad fun to play, nor is he fun to play against. His moves are difficult to use effectively, and they usually depend on either you playing very, very campy or dying and getting lucky, which isn't very fun. It doesn't feel very skillful, in my opinion. And when you're on the receiving end, when you kill a guy and then he rejacks and murders you while you're reloading, or when you run over an insta-kill mine that you can't avoid or can't save yourself from with perks or whatever, it's also very annoying. So I feel the specialist is only in the game to annoy people or to annoy users. He's only good for camping. Dude, do you like to camp? Do you like to play conservative? Do you like light machine guns? Do you like Search and Destroy? Do you like to sit in a bush and be a bush Wookiee or a dark corner McDougal, as Wicked Shrapnel would say? Then Nomad is going to be the specialist for you. If you like doing anything aggressive, if you like having good guns, or if you like, I don't know, playing COD in general and not just camping, then you're probably not going to enjoy the specialist or enjoy playing against him, though I would definitely recommend Nomad for competitive Search and Destroy. He's pretty awesome at that because all of his stuff is very, very camping geared. Guys, that is all for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. The previous episode was a Reaper Specialist in depth, and the next one is going to be on Fast Hands versus Gung Ho. Drifter out.